Hey trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash that subscribe button. We are growing, it is showing. I'm excited that you guys are supporting the channel so much. Thank you. Keep it up. We are on our way, guys. I'm excited for this new TXT Track Time news. Can't really change the name because I was advised maybe not to, because people won't be able to find me because TXT Track Time is such a brand now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So can't really change the name yet to Tracky. So that's where we are when it stands with the name. But that being said, hit the like as well. That's how the video gets to the algorithm. So hit the like. We want more eyes on every video. So please, even when you don't agree with me, hit the like button. Also, guys, comment away. I'm loving it. I'm loving reading all the comments. And yeah, share the video as well if you care. Now, the weekend that was. Yep, the weekend that was Trackies was world release and the fallout ensuing. And it's interesting because everybody is asking, what went wrong, Team Jamaica? And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're OG of TXT Track Time, right, you would have known that from this channel was created in 2021, we have been highlighting the deficits, the areas that we need to resolve for the 4 by 100 meters. And if we don't resolve these issues, then it's going to only get worse for Team Jamaica. And it's funny because every year, and by we, I mean myself and my sister, every year we would do maybe 5 relay videos discussing this and saying, hey guys, we need to make a change, we need to fix, and nothing changes. And track is here we are in 2025 where everybody's aghast and wondering what went wrong. No, this was building, it was happening, but everybody was playing, dumb, or, turning a blind eye to it and thinking that it would be magically fixed. When I was saying that, no, we need to start practicing. This is a reality. Everybody is now being strategic, right? Everybody is now being strategic with the relays. Jamaica needs to wake up and start being strategic too. We need to start practicing. We need to start making sure that all the athletes are going on the right legs. And of course, we need to ensure that we're effectively using up the zones, right? And yeah, so I'm not really surprised. We've been talking about it from Wapiki Flop. As I said, from the channel was created 2021. Right now, y'all should be saying, T, you know, say you did right. But I'm not really excited because in case y'all forgot, I'm still Jamaican. I still want Jamaica to win all day, every day. So when I see things like this happening, I'm not excited. The reason we were pointing it out is in hopes that it would be fixed so that we wouldn't end up here. But here we are nonetheless. And as I said, I am not surprised. Before I jump into the finer details, I also want to highlight that I was reminded that I cussed out MVP in 2024, right? Saying that when I take up the whole of the relay, them when I go a championship. All of the spaces, well, not all, but most. That was probably me in 2024. I know who I am. I didn't go back and watch, but I know who I am, right? So how dare you all take up all the spots, and when it come to real relays, I don't want to send nobody. Guess what, guys? MVP came out full force. They came out deep. They're like, no way, Jose, or you're gonna say we didn't show up. And Chucky's kudos and shout out to MVP for doing the right, because that is what should happen. From a general perspective, we have an idea as it relates to who may be a part of the structure when we get to championships. And I always thought it wasn't fair for those athletes to sit back on their laurels and make, second string, third string, fourth string athletes go out there and qualify us. And the reality is that they don't get none of the glory when you're not when you head to championships. So all of the benefits that are to be had, they don't get none of that. So I definitely think that athletes that are, part of the bigger scheme of things should always be making themselves available. Do I think that MVP needs to roll deep every year? No. Right? Some years we may not see everybody, and I'm fine with that. But at least send a few of the good people to be a part of it. So I love the fact that MVP came out really strong in 2025. Big question is, you see what going on over the 4x4s? Going forward, just like how I had all that energy for MVP last year and being fair, may have all the energy now for the other club them where we don't send nobody. So if we don't want to be part of 4x4, men, women, mixed, Make sure say on find yourself available. And I think that the J3s needs to make sure that they implement something that if you're not making yourself available, and I'm not being unrealistic, I don't expect to see everybody, but me expect to see at least one or two good people show up. You know what I mean? If you not make if you not want turn up for world relays, then you not gonna be part of the relays when it comes to the championships. And let's be absolutely clear. I know everybody I gotta get an individual medal. That's just being real. Where most people get their medals from is the relays. So if you can't run a world relays, then you can't run a championships. That's just literally how I feel about it. So again, shout out to MVP on doing what they were supposed to do. Now, interestingly, since everything went down over the weekend, as I said, most people are surprised. I'm not, because we've been talking about this for years. But it really got me thinking about, where has this really been stemming from? Has Jamaica always not been, strategic when it came to the relays, or is this something new? As I said, we've been highlighting it since 2021. Really, it popped up into our brains when we looked at that really dominant women's 4x100 meter team not breaking the world record. And me start saying to myself, so then, oh, the team from USA break that the world record there. And Uno comes so with all of them people are much, much faster. I couldn't break it, something there right here. So we need to start fixing it. That's really, really and truly where we started to highlight the flaws, happening in the relays. But as I said, it got me thinking, how long ago was this going on? And I went back to roughly around 2012. And track is, to be fair, my finding is that Jamaica was just winging it this whole time. We were literally were just winging it. We were fortunate enough to have really fast athletes, and we put together a team and it worked out, right? But for the most part, I was still seeing the same zonal issues, especially from a female perspective. I was still seeing the same zone issues where we're not using up the zones, still seeing, here and there, because most of these women were, at this particular point, well seasoned into competing into the relay. So they didn't really have much issues from a baton perspective, but it could be crisper, right? So it's something that has been going on from the get-go. So here we are, in 2025, and I'm looking back and I'm thinking to myself, well, dang, unfortunately, this has always been the case with Team Jamaica. But interestingly, the rest of the world has made a change, and that is why it's so obvious now with Team Jamaica. So, in going back to 2012, everything to me looked textbook. If you look at the markings on the track for the incoming runner, that signal to go off, you can clearly see that all those, tapes are literally the same place. It's staggered, it's on the curve, but all those tapings are literally on the same spot. However, by 2021, where we have a team like Italy winning the Olympic 4x100 meter title, you can clearly see that there's a lot of change in terms of teams being more strategic. So, what works best for them, that's where we're going to put the tape. So, we are more rehearsed. We know how we can stretch the zone. We know how to get the best results out of our athletes. So this is where we're going to lay down our markers. Much different from 2012, where everything just looked generic, like some textbook, placement. That's what I saw from back then versus now. So in my mind, though, I go back to around 2017 is probably where it started to dawn on me that, hey, the rest of the world is starting to take relays more seriously. We see teams like Japan, China, being more effective. And that's because they are practicing more. That is literally, what we started to see from what I'm saying is 2017. If it's a different year, you guys can tell me in the comments, but that's where my memory takes me to on the 4x100 meter relays. But interestingly, in 2012, though I say everything looked pretty much textbook, interestingly for Team America, when they broke that 4x100 meter world record, they were the only team that seemingly made some kind of change on the relays in terms of the markings. If you look at that final handover, right, they literally stretched that zone effectively. And yeah, as I said, they were able to go away with a wonderful world record outside of that. So now, track is here we are. The rest of the world is now practicing, being more rehearsed. We have teams like South Africa that are now in the conversation. Many more countries are now part of the conversation when it comes to who could potentially walk away with one of those three medals. It's no longer just the generic USA, Jamaica, and flinging maybe a Great Britain. Every single year it was America, USA, Great Britain, or you flip around Jamaica and USA, but it was still those three countries. No, that's not the case, right? The only problem I find is that with all of those countries making all these changes and getting better, Jamaica the only one that we not do nothing. Jamaica the only one them we not do nothing. So we are the only ones that have not made that change. Whether it be from a practicing perspective, where yes, we need to practice, we need to be prepared if we want to compete effectively. A lot of you people think that everything just gonna magically work. It can't keep going, so it's not going to work, especially in light of, as I said, the rest of the world doing what they're supposed to do. So, Team Jamaica, just think about it. Una not do what una supposed to do. Una not practice, right? Una not put the people them on the right leg. And una not use up the zone properly. Just imagine if Team Jamaica is supposed to ever do none of them the thing there. What you think would have happened? Would go back to the same type of dominance that we had, back then, maybe like the 2015s. Back then, we would go back to that type of dominance. But here we are, as I said, in 2025, and uh, we literally have to start looking to ourselves now and say, well, the team them, the coach them, have to start looking and say, all right, let us do right. This is a team. Everybody stands to benefit. There's no one glory leg because there are people of the view and the notion that the ankle leg is a glory leg. Look here, as far as I'm concerned, if you're running an anchor and your team is not winning, there's no glory to be had. So please ensure that you structure the team right so that we can actually have real glory on that leg. Now, also coming out of the weekend, yeah, Shericka Jackson has been on the tip of everybody's lips. I suppose the conversation has somehow switched from whether or not Shericka Jackson is best suited for the anchor leg to Shericka Jackson being done. I don't even know how we got there, but let me just make it clear. TXT Track Time is not saying in any way, shape, or form that Shericka Jackson is done. What TXT Track Time is highlighting, what we've been highlighting from 2021, is that we are not putting the athletes on the right legs. And we also did highlight that it seemingly seems as though, whilst everybody else is able to move around, we're finding it difficult to understand while Shericka Jackson is not able to move around and try to find a better leg that may suit her. So, track is that's a review when it comes to what went down with a Shericka. It's always been a review that Shericka Jackson was not best suited for the anchor leg. All right, so track is the weekend happened, and this is literally where we stand for those 5 relays that will be contested at the World Championships. Now, as I said, we qualified in two: women's 4x1 and men's 4x4. So those two, which means that we didn't qualify in three. Now, in total, World Relays takes 14. So 14 teams are qualified from the World Relays for a total 16 that will be able to compete at the World Championships. So only 2 spots available. Only 2 spots are available. So this is where Jamaica stands when it comes to those additional 3 relays. Where we are right now for the mixed 4x400 meters, we are ranked 16th in the world. So remember, me telling you say only 16 can go, and only 2 spots are left available, 15 and 16. Well, Jamaica is sitting on the bubble with that 16 spot with a 3 minutes 11.06 seconds. So right now we're living dangerously with that 16 spot, because if any other country runs faster, then we may find ourselves out. It's not likely to happen, given that quite a few of these performances were actually done at the Olympic Games in 2024, which means that this was the best performance out of the team, right? So it's not likely to happen, but just want you all to know that we're living on the bubble when it comes to this mixed 4x4. Also, it's probably going to be hard to find competitions to compete in for an actual mixed 4x4 unless you create something for yourself to compete at, where you actually need to fill at least 3 lanes, I believe, for it to be a valid competition. That being said, we're on the bubble for the mixed 4x4, but seemingly qualified at this point, right? Also, when it comes to the women's 4x4, we're also sitting down in the 16th position as well. So living on the bubble there as well with a 3 minutes 24.92 seconds. Now, as I said, when it comes to, these particular relays, that these times were done at the Olympic Games. So it's highly unlikely that at this time of the year you're gonna find teams fast enough to beat out a Jamaica based on, the time that is on paper. But highly unlikely doesn't mean it's impossible. So we are living on the edge. Right now we are sitting in a 16th and qualified position. Let's hope it stays that way. So we could potentially see at least four, teams for Jamaica at the World Championships, barring any, additional mishaps. No, this is where we're in a bit of a spot of our bother, which is the men's 4x4, because we did have some troubles at the Olympic Games when it came to executing in that 4x1. So we don't have one of the fastest times, unfortunately, for the men's 4x1. And it actually ranks us outside of the top 16. So we actually need to get into the top 16. But it's not as bad as a mixed 4x4 or even a 4x4 to try to find an event to compete in. We see them time and time again compete in the 4x1s at the Diamond League. So it's going to be easy, I think, for Team Jamaica to qualify. I think we have the manpower, right, to get it done. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be an issue at all to get a team qualified in the men's 4x100 meters to compete at the World Championship. So right now, it seems as though Jamaica may have all our relay teams to compete at the World Championship. So, even though, there's a lot to change and better going forward, it's still comforting to know that we could potentially have all these teams still be at the World Championships, even though we had such problems. But yeah, going forward, we definitely have to ensure that we start practicing. The rest of the world is practicing, guys. The rest of the world is practicing. We don't have that huge gap that we once had on the rest of the field, unfortunately. So we have to make it work, and we have to do the right thing to make it work. It's not going to magically happen, right? So, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The fallout ensuing from the World Relays. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.